Good morning. This is the intuitive logo design debriefing for Heartsong Animal Healing. And this is a very special client. I completely resonate with her mission and her energy, which is not unusual for my clients because the clients who seem to find me and resonate with my work tend to be absolutely beautiful souls with absolutely beautiful missions. So I'm going to flip you around and walk you through the development of this concept. All right, so here is my notebook, and there were more pages than this, but this logo was unusual, and that it's taken a couple weeks of, here and there, feeling into the design and feeling into the elements and having new elements come up and then trying to weave them together, trying to get on paper the essence of what I'm, receiving on an energetic level as well. So there's different concepts here. I was playing around with the idea of kind of a leaf growing and perpetuating, the idea of kind of radiating energy, bubbles, kind of having a heart, and a pool, and then this is kind of the stereotypical one where I was working with creating a mark that encompassed different animals. Now we're going to go into this a little bit later. I have a short screen capture that I did on my computer about why too much detail in a logo is not a good thing, why there's a difference between a spot illustration or a piece of fine art and a logo mark. My client had also mentioned that she tends to gravitate towards lifelike, kind of realistic depictions of animals, and that's actually not what came through for me, as well as my interpretation of the energy is worked into a much more iconic, cohesive mark. So this was kind of the direction that I started working in. I started working with the idea of kind of like a nest / sound wave / pool / heart. And I was going to try to weave animals into that. Just the ideas of different frequencies, hearts almost as feathers, and this, sound emanating kind of core energy. And then the animals worked into it. So then here's where we came into this almost like that flower of life flower with hearts kind of in the middle. Then the idea of, as you will see on the next page, carry it around. So the idea of these leaves or these petals, that geometry, that healing, sacred geometry, turning into like sound waves in each petal. So it's like perpetuating and unity because it all meets in the center. And then that's when I started playing around with the idea of one of the different animals, like a horse or a dog or a cat, coming out of that. So originating from the center, everything, rotating, moving, because energy moves, sound moves, and having those kind of sound waves / petals as well. And then you'll see on this page, I was working more with different silhouettes of the animals and playing around with that. And that's where we come to this next pieces, because I went a lot farther with this sketch than I usually do at the sketch phase, where I actually did different variations and started playing around with my gouache just to see what it would be like to cut out different parts of the image over top of the drawing. And so here's kind of a couple variations of that. This one, it's almost like the petals become hearts, kind of nourishing and encompassing each animal. And then so it's almost like flowers instead of one big flower. And each flower is kind of a heart shape. The petals become a heart shape, with kind of a heart backing each animal with kind of, and I don't know about these radiating lines. This was obviously a sketch, and then I started to cut parts out and refine it as I got my gouache out. So this is always an evolutionary process, right? This is not one, succinct, bam, it's on the paper and that's it. It is an evolution, and the entire journey of the rest of the logo design and the branding design and the collateral, etc., is a journey as well. It evolves. There is not one right or wrong. This is about interpreting the energy and alchemizing, all of the concepts and all of the energy as well. And you'll notice in these concepts I didn't bother playing with the copy, the Heartsong Animal Healing, because I was focusing so much more on the mark, and the font, whatever font or lettering we use, will accentuate the energy of the mark and enhance the energy of the mark. So anyways, we kind of got two different ideas here. And this one, it almost became like, instead of just sound waves, which I had in the sketches in my craft paper sketchbook, these almost become like petals folding in and really holding. So instead of focusing so much on the heart shape behind each animal, it's still there. You can see the heart shape behind each animal, but it's more subtle. And we've kind of got the idea of the radiating sound waves, the originating from the sound waves, that movement, how everything is folding into one. And then these are almost like little nourishing pods or pockets where you're feeling held. Sound healing is a way of holding the energy and holding presence. And so the idea of being held and really, the word is escaping me now, but other than hold. Holding, cradling, that's the word. Cradling the energy, and then that movement. So the dog, horse, cat. There's more details that could be added, although, as I mentioned, and as I show in the upcoming screencast, too much detail actually detracts from the mark and becomes a distraction and a tangent, and actually dilutes the energy, as opposed to having something powerful that can be scalable. Scale something up, scale it down, it's still recognizable, as opposed to a bunch of crazy different lines that don't seem to make sense unless you see it really, really big, which is rare for a logo. So anyway, this is where we are at for the concept. At this point, I get feedback from my client, and we begin taking it into Adobe Illustrator and digitizing. Note, if you have never had a logo design before, you always want to get your logo in vector format. That usually means something like Adobe Illustrator as opposed to Photoshop, because you don't want to limit yourself in terms of scalability. You want it to be crisp and clear no matter what size it's at. Photoshop is resolution dependent, so you will be limited in terms of how you can manipulate your logo and how you are able to use your logo in the future. So let's flip over to the screencast, and I will just give you a quick explanation of, one, why I haven't gone the stereotypical route, why I haven't gone the realistic route, mainly because the energy wasn't directing me that way, and two, why it's so important to have something unique and original in the brand, in the visual branding for your unique energy and your unique business.
Search on Shutterstock.com for women and horse line art, and you can see a lot of these line arts here. You can see that there's so many details that there's no way, when these are small, you can see everything going on, and it all just kind of ends up blending together. The likelihood that a logo is going to be used at a full screen size is pretty slim. Most logos are used on business cards, on websites, social media icons, and things of that sort. So for that reason, a logo is not intended to be exceptionally detailed. A piece of fine art or an illustration, a spot illustration would be, but a logo needs to be more simple, more based on shape, as opposed to fine details of an illustration. So I also did a Google search on dog, horse, cat logo, because there's a lot of these out there. A lot of them look the same. And so with this logo, because my client's energy is unique, and because, the whole foundation of the business is unique, I didn't want to do something that is already done. And you can see some of these out there are so they're so used that there are other designers who just buy take these stock illustrations and call them a logo. So there was another designer who had been promoting some of her work. And if you look at this here, and then you will see this here. So this Alchemy creative designer just bought this image from Shutterstock and then put a font on it and put her copyright on it. So, these are floating around everywhere. It's easy for anyone to buy something like this, slightly modify it, and then call it their logo. But the whole point of a logo and this investment in, intuitive, soul resonant branding is that it is unique. It's not about being literal and logical. It's about embracing the essence and embracing your own magic. So this designer also did a couple other ones. These are all stock images. See with this one especially that it barely makes sense visually this small. If you can imagine this becoming even smaller and having no idea what that is, just buying some stock imagery off of Shutterstock or another stock site does not mean that it is cohesive enough and clear enough to become the visual foundation of your brand. And again, this says Alchemy Creative. I'm not sure what alchemy is involved in buying a stock image, but from my perspective, and the reason that I have set up my own process, if you will, is because I value my clients, and tapping into their soul essence is extremely, extremely important to me. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes your business unique. That's what brings others to you, because they can feel your alignment and your own clarity with your soul resonance.
And that is our summary of the Heartsong Animal Healing logo concept development for today. I hope it's been informative, and I hope that you can tell from the way that I speak and the way that I've created this beautiful piece that I very much believe in my clients. And to me, it's so important that my clients get the highest quality, the highest care, that there is heart and soul, not just in the design, but in my communication as well, because this is all part of the experience. It's not it's not as simple as it may seem, and because it's not simple, I honor that. And while the process itself is simple, there's so much that goes into it that I actually refuse to shortchange my clients. I don't do things in order to get them done faster just for the sake of getting them done faster. I don't cut corners just in order to, save time and cost. There's a certain level of investment energetically and time-wise that I have, a certain level of my own experience, both as a professional designer and as an artist, illustrator, and as an intuitive healer that I bring into this work. So it really is a journey. It's not a product, it is an experience, and I believe that my clients deserve the fullest experience possible. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon.